Actually, you know what? Let me ask you the second one first that I wrote down. All right. So I'm a Met fan. I'm going to admit that right now. Sorry to half of Ranger Nation. But this week, Daniel Murphy retired. And people always go, oh, he was so great in the 2015 run. He was so great. I always said the guy never took his fielding seriously. And he always tried to reinvent defense. When I think of Daniel Murphy, I think of a guy that made a boneheaded error that cost the Mets the World Series. That was Game 4 in the eighth inning, I think it was. Game 4 in the eighth inning, he just let a ball roll under his glove, and then that was it. Nobody remembers Michael Conforto becoming the fourth youngest player to hit 2 home runs in a World Series game that day. So that's my Bill Buckner, a guy that I'll never forgive. Can you think of any people related to the New York Rangers that you could think, I'll never forgive you for that?
Wow. I'll probably get some heat for this because of how long he played for the team and the fact that he was undrafted and carved himself out a decent career despite that. But Dan Girardi in game 1 of the 2014 Cup Finals just absolutely that helped cost the Rangers the series. And listen, the Dwight King goal should have been overturned. That undoubtedly should have been overturned. They blew leads, but Dan Girardi falling in game 1 of the 2014 Stanley Cup Finals, leading to that Justin Williams game-winning overtime-winning goal, really was the downfall or the start of the downfall of that series, because that team got out to a 2-0 lead in the first period on those breakaway goals by Hagelin, and when Pouliot stripped out, he went the other way. And then the bad play by Derek Stepan, the pass up the middle that led to that Kyle Clifford goal. I was like, all right, this is bad. And then Drew Doughty absolutely walked, I believe, Kevin Klein to tie the game late. But Girardi falling in overtime, and then he, years later in 2017, did it again, leading to Kyle Turris scoring a bad goal, which Henrik Lundqvist also should have had in, that game 3 or 4 against Ottawa?
That was game 5 versus Ottawa.
That was game 5? Okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, I mean, I can't forgive Dan Girardi for that. I respect the guy. Great career for a Ranger, especially from being an undrafted guy. But yeah, that really, really, really stings when I look back on it, because if that goal isn't let up and he doesn't fall there, maybe they win game 1 and it's a completely different series.
I have 3. I was telling you about this in text.
Yeah.
But first, before we get away from Dan Girardi, I want to let you know my personal take. Darius Kasparaitis' greatest contribution to the New York Rangers was going on the IR. So the Rangers had to call up Dan Girardi, who was the player that was playing well, and then they never sent Dan Girardi back down after it. I think he was wearing 47 when he first came up. And then he was 5 the next year.
40, I think it was 46.
Could be.
I think if I remember correctly, it was 46, and then was Callahan wearing? No,
Callahan was wearing 43.
43, yeah.
Yeah, I know that.
He was not wearing 24 when he first came up.
I know that because great players always wear 43. So anyway. All right. So here's my 3 that I have to give you, and let me try to set the stage on a lot of these. I made this bold prediction to a friend of mine. I said, look, the Rangers, the year before it was, and referring to the year before, was 2007. They were down 2-0 to Buffalo, and they came back and tied the series. I liked the way they played against the Penguins the next year, and I said, this team is going to tie this series all over again, and it'll be a best of 7, definitely. It already is best. You know what I mean? A 7-game series. So, game 3, Penguins come out. They get a 3-1 lead. Callahan and Yager score to tie the game. The Rangers claw all the way back, and I'm going, yeah, this is going to be it. A couple minutes later, I think it was his next shift, but Ryan Hallweg boards Ryan Malone.
Oh.
And it was an offensive zone penalty. It was one of those things I'm going, what are you doing? Penguins come back on the next power play, boom, back of the net. And that was all they wrote on the series. The fact that the Rangers got one win in that series was something impressive.
Yeah.
But it's just, Ryan Hallweg, it was one of those moments where I was like, all right, I can't wait for you to not be a Ranger anymore. Which then brings me to 2010, a guy that had a one-shot year as a New York Ranger.
I know exactly where you're going with this one. Oh.
Because after all, who's got one of the best shootout percentages of all time?
You really need to remind me of this? I'm going to hear the name and I'm going to get PTSD.
But needing the Rangers to tie a shootout because Claude Giroux put them ahead in the final game of the year. Rangers win the shootout, they're in the playoffs. Rangers lose the shootout, they're not in the playoffs. They go home. But Olli Jokinen pulling out one of the worst shootout moves I've ever seen. And especially, it's sort of like, and again, you played the game, sometimes you get over the blue line, you gotta move in your head. You're going, I'm gonna make this move. I'm gonna make this move. And then you see what the goalie's giving you and you react. Sometimes if the goalie backs up too quick, you shoot. If he's coming out of you, you deke him. Olli Jokinen was going 5-hole the entire time. And I'm going to put the still image in this, but it looked like Brian Boucher just said he's going 5-hole, and he just slammed down everything to stop the 5-hole shot. And Jokinen had the entire net to shoot. I still don't get it. Till this moment, I still don't get it.
The pisses me off about that one the most, and he's probably another guy that would be in my top 3, is the fact that they just, for whatever reason, didn't shoot Marian Gaborik. Why would you not shoot the best player on your team? I don't get it. It's like going back to Nagano in 1998, where Mark Crawford didn't shoot Wayne Gretzky. What are you doing?
Yeah. By the way, in that game, who was the only guy that scored in the shootout?
For Czech Republic, was it Marty Straka?
Robert Reichel.
Oh my God! Wow, yeah.
And to add salt into the wound, as you said, they never played Wayne Gretzky. Reichel was using a Hespler hockey stick.
Wayne Gretzky's company.
Yep. So I always love that, just that little tidbit.
Yeah.
And the last group of people I will never, ever, ever forgive for as long as I can. And I'll set this stage. The Rangers have played 2 games on my birthday in my lifetime. One was game 4. They take the 3-1 lead over the Vancouver Canucks. It's June 7th. I was 16 years old and elated beyond all words. Alexei Kovalev getting the late power play goal. The second one was 2014. And you brought it up just a second ago. But Dwight King was definitely interfering with Henrik Lundqvist. There shouldn't have been a third goal, never mind a fourth goal later. But that's what happens. You end up giving teams momentum. So who's the people I can't forgive in there? Not Dwight King, not Ryan McDonough who's trying to box him out. How do the refs not make that call? I have no idea still till this day. There is a CBC broadcast of that where they even admit, I have watched all the games in the playoffs. That's interference.
After the puck went in.
Did he prevent him from doing his job?
Sure looked like that on the overhead. Yes, it did.
And that changed the series. That completely changed the series. The Rangers would have been down 1-1, and then they would have. LA was the better team in Game 3, despite all the posts. And Jonathan Quick stole that game.
Yeah.
Game four, Henrik Lundqvist stole that game right back.
Yep.
And then game 5, similar situation, John. We were. I'm not signed by the Rangers. The Rangers were winning 2-1. I'm in Vegas for this one, and I see Matt Zuccarello get tripped.
No.
And no call. It actually gets worse. They called him for tripping.
Yeah, that was the most ridiculous thing.
I'm looking over at a couple LA fans going, how is that not tripping on Muzzin? I still don't know. And then, of course, adding salt in the wound, Marian Gaborik ties the game. Rangers losing the cup in overtime. So it's just when it comes to guys like that, it's just, I mean, and the refs, the blind men could have made those calls. Like,
yeah.
and the idiocy of the ref going, oh, it was already past you before it went in the net. You have the technology to prove this. So maybe a guy lying on top of our franchise goaltender, maybe, I don't know.
Maybe, just maybe might have prohibited him from playing that puck. No, just a hunch, you know? What a novel concept that would be, that we would actually review a play that could change an entire series. I've always said that if that call gets reversed, the Rangers come back and win, or the Rangers win that game and go back to the Garden with a 1-1 series instead of a 2-0 deficit, it's a completely different series. You never know.
Completely different series.
Completely different. And everybody that says, oh, well, usually it's Islander fans and Devil fans that, like to troll the Rangers and their fans whenever the 2014 is brought up. Those games were all decided either in overtime or by 1 goal. Except for
LA
3.
led for, excluding game 3, LA led for 20 minutes the entire series.
Yeah, how is that not a close series? And how would you say, how can you,
or the Rangers dominating?
Yeah, how could you say that call wouldn't have changed the outcome of that series with that stat being
tremendous?
It's physically, you can't even technically say that it wouldn't have changed anything. You can't. The evidence against it is overwhelming.
Oh. So, and it's one of those things, if I ever walk by, I wish I could remember the refs' names, because all it's coming is the old minds of Kerry Fraser and Andy Van Helm.
Was it St. Pierre and McCauley in that series? I don't know.
It could be Wes McCauley or somebody like that. It's just one of those moments of, hi, I'm Wes McCauley. I officiated. You punch him in the face.